The prisoner with fire in her eyes. The storm hit hard. Lightning flashed across the sky. The human ship, Iron Hope, shook as it crashed through the clouds. Smoke filled the cockpit. Captain Rain held the controls tight, trying to keep the ship from breaking apart. "Brace for impact," he shouted. The ship slammed into the ground of a dead, silent planet. Metal screamed. Dust and fire filled the air. Then, everything went dark. Hours later, the crew slowly woke up. Rain stood up first. Blood ran down his forehead, but he didn't care. He looked out through the broken window. The planet was dry. Cracked ground. Sharp black mountains. No signs of life. "We're not alone here," Rain said softly. His voice shook, but not from fear. Something was pulling at him. A strange feeling deep in his chest. The crew of 5 moved carefully through the ruins nearby. Old stone buildings stood half buried in sand. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. "This place is ancient," said Micah. "The team's tech. Thousands of years old. Maybe more." Then they heard it. Clink, clink, clink. Chains. Heavy chains, dragging against stone. The sound led them to a deep chamber underground. Torches lit by blue fire lined the walls, though no one had touched them. In the center of the room was a woman. Tall, silent, chained to a stone throne. Her skin was marked with glowing lines like fire under her flesh. Her eyes were gold and sharp. Not scared, not weak. She looked at them like a lion would look at prey. She smiled. "Finally," she said, her voice soft but powerful. "One of you came." The crew raised their weapons. Rain stepped forward. "Who are you?" he asked. She tilted her head. "I am Celia. I was forged to obey only the one strong enough to break my chains." Rain looked at the metal bindings. They were not normal chains. They hummed with strange power. Some were fused into her skin. Others burned with runes older than any language the crew knew. "Many tried to free me," she said. "They failed. They died." "Why are you chained?" "Because I am dangerous. Because I was made for war." The crew whispered to each other, afraid. Rain did not move. "Why did you smile when we entered?" he asked. Zalia's smile grew wider. "Because the chains reacted. They felt your presence. You carry something in your blood. Something old. Something they remember." Rain's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" "Touch the chains, human," she said. "Let us see if you are the one." Micah pulled Rain back. "Don't do it." She could be lying. Rain stared into Xelia's eyes. They were fierce, not begging, not afraid. She wasn't trying to trick him. She was waiting. Slowly, he reached out. His fingers brushed the chains. Craig. A spark of white fire jumped between them. Rain stumbled back. The chains glowed red-hot. Celia gasped as if something deep inside her had awakened. One of the chains, just one, cracked down the middle. The crew froze. Celia looked at the broken link, then at Rain. Her golden eyes softened. For the first time, her voice had a hint of emotion. "You are not ready, but you are the one," she said. "What does that mean?" Rain asked. "It means you must choose. Leave me here, and I remain your prisoner, or free me, and face what comes." Rain looked around the chamber. The air felt heavy, like eyes were watching them from the shadows. "What comes if I free you?" Exelia leaned forward, chains clinking again. "War, power, enemies older than your race, but also truth." The room trembled. Suddenly, a signal came through Micah's wristcom. "Captain, we just picked up something in orbit. Big ships, alien code. They're coming. Fast." Celia smiled again, but this time, it wasn't warm. It was like a wolf ready to hunt. "They've sensed me," she said. "They want me dead. I told you. Many tried to break me. The ones who failed. Their masters come now. The ground shook harder. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rain looked at her, chained, calm, and powerful. She was dangerous, but something told him she wasn't lying. The chain he touched glowed again, and this time it shattered. Xalia looked at Ran and knelt. "I obey," she said, "until death or freedom." She was built to destroy kings. For the first time in centuries, Xalia stood. The chains lay shattered at her feet like dead snakes, smoking and silent. The air around her shimmered with heat. Even the walls of the chamber seemed to lean back, afraid of what they had just witnessed. Captain Rain stepped back, his hand still tingling from where he had touched the glowing links. His crew stared at Xalia, weapons raised but hands trembling. She turned slowly, her long dark hair falling like silk across her back. Her golden eyes burned, not with rage, but with freedom. And something else. Respect. "Your blood," she said softly, "woke the chains. It carries an echo of those who came before, the ones who ruled the stars." Rain's voice came out dry. "I'm just a soldier, a scout. I don't rule anything." Xalia stepped closer. The ground pulsed under her bare feet. "You may not know your blood," she said, "but your blood knows me." Outside the chamber, the sky had turned red. Alien ships, sharp like knives and black as shadow, ripped through the clouds. Their engines howled. These were no scouts. They were death machines. Micah shouted into his wristcom, "They've locked on us. They're targeting this temple." Xalia closed her eyes. "They felt my freedom," she said. "They fear me. So now they come to erase me again." "Why do they fear you?" Rain asked. Xalia turned toward him, her expression suddenly colder. "Because I was made to destroy kings." As they rushed back through the ruins, Xalia walked calmly, her step sure. Fire fell from the sky, striking the mountains around them. The earth split open in waves. Rain's crew ducked behind stone walls, gasping. "She's not afraid," whispered Jax, one of the team's snipers. "She's walking into the storm." Xalia raised her hand, and a wall of golden energy bloomed around them. A massive explosion struck just outside. Rocks flying, fire surging, but not a single stone touched them. Rain looked at her. "What are you?" Xalia's eyes glowed. "I was not born. I was forged. In the warforges of the Valari, when the galaxy was young and full of fire." "Valari," Rain repeated. "They're a myth. We were more than real. We were weapons with minds. Each of us sworn to protect only the one who could control us, not with cruelty, but with strength, with purpose." Ran thought of the chains, of the way they had shattered under his touch. "You were made for war," he said. Xalia nodded. "Yes, for killing tyrants, for toppling thrones, but when the last Star-Lord died, we lost our path. The Valari fell, and those who feared our power locked me away." The team reached their shuttle. Smoke rose behind them. The alien ships were landing. "We have to go," Micah shouted. "They'll flatten this place in minutes." Xalia stepped in front of the shuttle. "No. If you run, they will hunt you. They will not stop. Because you touched me, Captain. Because you woke me." Rain stood still. "Then what do we do?" Xalia turned to face the sky, arms open wide. "We make them remember why they locked me away." The enemy ships landed. Tall armored figures stepped out, like insects made of steel. Their eyes glowed with cold blue light. Their leader, General Korjun, pointed at the human crew. "Step away from the Ancient One. Now." Xalia walked forward. "I remember you, Korjun," she said, her voice loud and clear. "Your empire poisoned the stars. You feared the Valari because you could not control us." Korjun snarled. "We destroyed your kind." Xalia raised her hands. "And now I return. with the last voice that can command me. The enemy opened fire. Laser blasts screamed through the air, but Xelia moved like wind and flame, faster than sight. Her body shimmered with light, each strike turning aside, her fists glowing. She hit the ground once. A shockwave exploded outward. Enemy soldiers flew back, their armor cracking. Rain's crew watched in stunned silence. "She's unstoppable," Jax whispered. "No," Rain said softly. "She's guided." Xelia stood in the middle of a burning field. Smoke curled around her. And still she smiled. But there was sadness in her eyes. That night, they made camp inside the ruined temple again. The fires outside still glowed, but the enemies had pulled back for now. Rain sat by the fire. Xelia sat across from him, watching the flames. "Why do you smile when you fight?" he asked her. Xelia looked into the fire. "Because it reminds me I am not a machine. The fire burns me. That means I still feel. You saved us. I serve you now. I have no choice." Rain shook his head. "I didn't ask for this." Xelia leaned forward. "But you earned it. The chains do not lie. Only the true voice can break them." Rain looked down at his hands. "Then I need to learn what this voice means." Xelia stood. Her silhouette shimmered in the firelight. "Tomorrow I will teach you," she said. "But remember this, Captain. I am not a gift. I am a blade, and blades cut both ways." She turned and walked into the shadows. Rain stared after her, wondering what he had truly awakened, the empire that fears one woman. The night didn't bring silence. Instead, the sky above the broken planet stayed alive with red lightning and distant roars of ships circling like vultures. They didn't strike again. Not yet. But they watched, waiting. Rain couldn't sleep. He stood outside the ancient temple ruins, looking up. Xelia stood beside him, silent as a statue. The wind touched her long dark hair, but she did not move. Her golden eyes glowed in the darkness, always watching, always calculating. "Why haven't they attacked again?" Rain asked. Xelia didn't look at him. "Because they remember what I am, and they are afraid." Far above, on the lead warship of the Obsidian Empire, General Korjan stood before a massive screen. His metal armor hissed with steam. His 4 glowing eyes narrowed as he replayed the footage. Xelia, the last Valari. She had destroyed 2 platoons in less than 2 minutes. No energy weapons, no machines, just her hands, her body, her will. "She is active again," a voice said behind him. Korzun turned to face a floating hologram. It was the Emperor's voice. Cold, cracked, almost mechanical. "We sealed her in a death vault," the Emperor hissed. "How did she break free?" "She didn't," Korjun growled. "Someone broke her chains." "A human?" The Emperor spat. "Impossible. They are weak. They crawl in the mud." Korjun stared at the screen. Rain's face was visible in the corner, walking beside Xelia, untouched by her power. "No," Korjun said. "He is more than human. We must learn what he is, before she remembers everything she was." Back on the planet, dawn came as a dull gray light. Xelia stood at the edge of the ruins, eyes closed, arms at her sides. Around her, the broken earth shook gently. Stones floated into the air. Rain watched from behind, confused. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I am listening," Xelia said. "To what?" "The old power, the world itself. It remembers me too." She turned toward him. "Come, it is time for you to learn." Xelia led Rain deep into the heart of the temple, farther than they had gone before. The air grew warmer, heavier. Symbols on the walls glowed brighter as they passed. Finally, they reached a vast stone chamber. In the center was a black column. Floating above it, a glowing crystal, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. "This," Xelia said, "is a memory core. It holds the truth of what I was and what you are becoming. I told you, Rain said. I'm just a scout. Celia walked to the crystal. That may be true, but the blood you carry is not just yours. She placed her hand on the crystal. Light spilled out in all directions, showing scenes in the air like ghosts. Rain gasped. He saw giants in golden armor riding fire across the stars. He saw Celia, younger, faster, leading armies into battle. He saw another man, tall, sharp-eyed, wearing robes of light. His face looked almost like Rain's. That man, Celia said, was your ancestor, one of the last Starlords. The image showed Celia kneeling before him, smiling. He was the only one, she whispered, who treated me as equal. The vision faded. Rain stared at the stone floor, stunned. His blood, his connection to Celia. It wasn't an accident. I don't want to rule anything, he said. Celia nodded. Then rule nothing. But understand this. The Obsidian Empire will never stop hunting you. Not because you are human, but because you touched me. Because I obey you. She looked at him, voice soft. They do not fear you. They fear what you let me become. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Micah's voice screamed through the wristcom. They're here. Dropships, 6 of them. Big ones. Rain and Celia ran to the surface. The enemy had landed again, but this time they didn't bring soldiers. They brought a juggernaut. It was 3 stories tall, black metal, burning with blue fire. It had no face, only weapons. Its legs crushed stone with every step. Celia narrowed her eyes. They're trying to finish it quickly. This is no battle. This is execution. Rain's crew was already firing at the juggernaut, but their weapons bounced off its armor. We need you, Rain said. Celia stepped forward. But this time, she hesitated. If I unleash myself fully, she said, I will lose control. The last time I did that, I burned half a planet. Rain looked at her. Her eyes were not cold now. They were scared. She was scared, not of the machine, but of herself. I'll guide you, Rain said. He stepped in front of her, placed his hand on her shoulder. He didn't shout a command. He just said softly, you are not a weapon. You are more. Celia trembled. And then, the fire lit. She moved like a storm. One moment she stood still, the next she was flying at the juggernaut. Every strike she landed sent shockwaves through the air. Metal tore like paper. The monster roared in pain. She danced through the fire, glowing like a sun. The battle lasted minutes, and when it ended, only smoke remained. Celia stood in the center of the wreckage, her chest rising and falling. She looked back at Rain. I didn't lose control, she said quietly, because you reminded me who I was. That night, they sat in silence around the fire. Celia said nothing, but her eyes stayed on Rain. He had not ordered her. He had not shouted. Yet she had moved, and for the first time in her long life, she felt something strange. Not command, not control. Trust. Her loyalty has a price. The stars were quiet that night. The crew of Iron Hope rested near the remains of the broken juggernaut. It no longer burned, no longer roared, just a pile of black metal and melted stone, a reminder of Celia's power and the danger of waking her. But Rain couldn't sleep. Celia stood on a ridge nearby, watching the horizon alone. Her arms were crossed, and the wind moved her dark hair like silk. She did not glow now. She did not burn. She looked smaller, almost human. Rain climbed the ridge and stood beside her. You didn't speak to anyone, he said. Celia didn't look at him. They fear me now. No, Rain replied. They're just trying to understand. Celia's voice was hollow. They should fear me. I do. They walked slowly along the ridge. Dust blew around their boots. The sky above was filled with alien stars. Celia finally broke the silence. You think you saved me. That by freeing me, you gave me something back. Rain nodded. Didn't I? She turned toward him, eyes glowing softly. You gave me purpose again. That's true. But purpose is a chain too. Rand didn't understand. Celia knelt and placed her hand on the dry ground. Symbols glowed faintly under her palm. When I was forged, she said, I was designed to follow the strongest voice. I was built to obey. That voice was once gentle. It was once noble. It belonged to your ancestor. He never misused it. But now, she whispered, now the chain is still inside me. Even without the metal, I feel it. Every time you speak, I want to obey, even if you never ask me to. Rain took a step back, surprised. You're not a slave, Celia. She smiled sadly. No, but I was made to want one. Later, back at the camp, the crew sat quietly, cleaning weapons and fixing their damaged gear. No one spoke of the battle. No one joked or smiled. They had seen too much. Micah broke the silence. She saved us. I saw her crush a juggernaut like a toy. But I also saw her eyes. She wasn't just fighting. She was bleeding inside. She's dangerous, Jack said. Even if she's on our side now. She doesn't want to be used, Rain replied. She wants to be seen. Jax frowned. Seen as what? Rain didn't answer. He wasn't sure either. The next morning, they received a signal. It came from an ancient satellite orbiting the planet. The language was old, very old, but Micah decoded it. Location. South of here, Micah said. An old Valari shrine. Maybe a power source, maybe a message. Could be important. Celia stepped forward quickly. No, she said. That shrine is my memory tomb. Rain turned to her. You have memories hidden there. Celia looked down. Not hidden. Buried. Painful ones. But if we want to end this, we must go there. The journey to the tomb took 2 days. They passed broken cities, old war machines, and bones turned to dust. The planet had once been alive. Now it was nothing but a grave. Finally, they reached a black stone pyramid standing alone in the desert. Symbols covered its surface, glowing red and blue like veins of light. The door opened without sound. Celia stepped inside. The others followed. Inside, the walls shimmered with energy. Faces appeared in the air. Old, proud warriors. Valari like Celia. But their faces twisted with pain. Each one fell. Each one faded. A whisper filled the air. Loyalty has a price. Celia stopped at the center of the chamber. A large circle of crystal stood there, glowing weakly. She placed her hand on it and screamed. Rain rushed forward, but she held up a hand to stop him. The crystal showed her memories, not just of war, but of betrayal. A young Celia, standing beside a noble Star-Lord, her face full of hope. Then the same Star-Lord, giving the order to lock her away. He was afraid, Celia whispered, afraid I would turn, that I would become like the tyrants we destroyed. The scene shifted again. Celia in chains, her voice screaming into the void. You promised I was more than a weapon. The chamber darkened. Celia fell to her knees, shaking. I gave him everything, she whispered. And in the end, he saw me as nothing but a sword. Rain knelt beside her. I'm not him, he said. Celia looked at him, eyes full of pain, but also something else. Hope. That night, the shrine glowed softly under the stars. The crew made camp nearby, but Rain sat beside Celia again. She was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke. I am loyal to you now, she said. But it is not love. It is not friendship. It is what I was built to feel. You must understand that. Rain nodded. And if I gave you a choice, if I found a way to break that, would you leave? Celia looked at the stars. I don't know, she said. but I would be free to decide. Suddenly, an alert sounded. Micah ran out of the tent. "We've got company. Fast-moving ships, high-tech, not Obsidian Empire." Rand narrowed his eyes. "Who are they?" Xelia stood slowly. "They are not enemies," she said. "They are something worse." "Worse?" Xelia turned toward the incoming light in the sky. "They are Valari, the last ones, and they are coming to finish me, because I broke the one law we all swore to keep." Rain stepped beside her. "What law?" Xelia answered with a whisper. "Never kneel again. The ancient name he carries." The sky burned again, but this time it wasn't warships. It was something older. Blue flames streaked across the stars, leaving trails that did not fade. The new ships were smooth, silent, and shaped like blades. They made no sound. They didn't land. They descended, slowly, like spirits returning from the grave. Rand stood on the steps of the memory tomb, watching them come. Xelia stood beside him, her face unreadable. "They are Valari," she said. "I thought they were all gone," Rand said quietly. "They should be," she replied. "But it seems some chose silence over death. And now, they come not to welcome me, but to judge me." The ships touched down with a soft hum. No weapons, no lights, just stillness. Then they opened. 5 figures stepped out. They were tall, taller than Xelia. Their armor was like glass and stone woven together, glowing softly. They did not carry guns. Their power was built into their bodies. The one in the middle stepped forward. His skin was silver gray. His eyes, like stars trapped in a storm. His voice echoed without volume. "Xelia," he said, "you should not exist." Xelia bowed her head. "Velos," she said, "you were always the first. You broke your vow." Velos said coldly, "You let the chains be touched again. You swore never to kneel." Xelia turned to face Rain. "I did not kneel because of weakness. I knelt because I chose to." "You do not choose," Velos roared. The air cracked. "You were made to serve, and we were made to end that curse. And now you've started it again." The other Valari raised their hands. Energy glowed in their palms, white and cold. Rain stepped forward. "Stop," he said. "If she broke a vow, I'll answer for it. She was chained when I found her. I broke those chains." Velos looked at Rain for the first time. "You speak boldly," he said. He walked slowly toward the human captain. The air grew heavy. Rain felt like the gravity itself was bending around him. Then Velos reached out and touched Rain's chest, and everything exploded. Rain's mind was pulled backward, not in space, but in time. He saw visions, clear and bright, as if he were standing in them. A great city of golden towers, crowds chanting a name. A tall warrior, strong, fearless, stepping forward, hand held high. That man wore Rain's face. His voice echoed in the sky. "I carry no crown, only justice." Xelia knelt before him, smiling, proud. Other Valari stood behind her, watching. Not afraid, not angry. They chose him. The vision shattered. Rain gasped, falling to one knee. Sweat poured down his face. His hands shook. "What was that?" he breathed. Velos stepped back. His face had changed. The anger was gone, replaced with something more dangerous. Doubt. "You carry his blood," Velos said. "The last Star-Lord. We thought the line ended in flame." Xelia's eyes filled with light. "I told you," she said. "The chains chose him." Velos shook his head. "That may be true, but blood alone is not enough. You are not your ancestor, and the galaxy is not what it was." He turned to the others. "Prepare the test." Later, deep inside the tomb, the Valari stood in a circle of stone. Rain stood in the center, unsure. Exelia stayed by the wall, tense. She had seen this ritual before. It was not cruel, but it was dangerous. Velos raised his hand. "We will not kill you," he said to Rain. "But we must know the truth. If you carry the Star-Lord's name, you must awaken the legacy." "What legacy?" Rain asked. Velos answered, "The throne that remembers." The stone floor split open. Rising from the depths, a throne made of light and crystal, floating above a bed of fire. Symbols swirled around it, alive. Rain stepped closer. His heart pounded. Something in his chest pulled toward it, like a magnet finding home after a lifetime of drifting. He placed his hand on the throne. The entire chamber lit up. Memories exploded into the air, not just his, but the galaxy's. Wars fought between stars, Star-Lords rising and falling, Xelia's voice crying out in battle. And above it all, the sound of a heartbeat. The throne glowed brighter. The fire rose. The Valari stepped back, stunned. Velos whispered, "The throne remembers him." Xelia's eyes filled with tears. "You are not just his blood," she said. "You are his echo, his will." Rand stepped back from the throne. His eyes burned. His voice shook. "I don't want a throne," he said. "I don't want to rule." Velos looked at him, serious. "Then what do you want?" Rain looked at Xelia. "I want to set her free." Silence fell. Even the throne dimmed, as if listening. Velos turned away. "Then you are not like your ancestor," he said. Rand didn't argue. He stepped toward Xelia. "I saw what they did to you," he said, "and I see what you became. You deserve more than loyalty. You deserve a choice." Xelia stared at him. "Even if I choose to leave you?" she asked. Rand nodded. "Yes." Velos sighed. "Perhaps we were wrong," he said. "The last Star-Lord tried to build a better galaxy. Maybe you will succeed where he failed." He turned to Xelia. "But the Obsidian Empire will come for him now, harder than before." Xelia nodded. "Let them come." That night, as the stars returned to their place in the sky, Rain sat beside Xelia again. He had touched the throne. He had seen the truth, but he did not feel like a king. He felt like a man holding the hand of a warrior who had suffered too long. And in that moment, she did not kneel. She simply sat beside him, silent, free. The war that will crown the unwilling king. The sky was no longer just red. It was black now, thick with war. The Obsidian Empire had arrived, and they had brought everything. Not scouts, not hunters, but armies. Thousands of ships blocked the stars. Giant war barges the size of cities hovered above the planet, casting shadows over the land. Their engines screamed like monsters, shaking the bones of the world. Rain watched from the temple cliffs, silent. Xelia stood beside him. She was calm, but her hands were tight, not with fear, but with restraint. "They are not here to fight," she said softly. "They are here to end us." Back at the camp, the crew and the surviving Valari prepared for war. Micah loaded energy cores. Jax adjusted targeting beacons. The ancient Valari warriors stood like statues, waiting for a signal. Inside the tomb, the glowing throne pulsed gently, a quiet heartbeat in the chaos. Velos approached Ran. "You know they will not stop," he said. "If you sit on that throne, they will kneel. If you don't, they will burn everything you care about." Rain looked at the throne, then at Xelia. "I won't take power by fear," he said. "That's what they do." "Then what will you do?" Velos asked. "I'll stand," Rain answered. "And if I fall free." High above, inside the Empire's flagship, General Korjan stared at the screen. Rain's face glowed there, along with Xelia's. "He's awakened the throne," an officer said. Korjan didn't blink. "And the last Valari stands beside him. Then we use the beast." The officer froze. "My lord," That weapon was sealed. Even we don't understand it. Exactly, Korjun said. That is why it will destroy them. He turned to the window. Release the void beast. It fell from the sky like a black sun. The ground cracked under its weight. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't alive. It was something else. A creature older than language, made of smoke, bone, and pure hunger. It had no eyes, no mouth, only endless limbs and shifting shape. It roared without sound, shaking the minds of everyone around. Even the Valari stepped back. Zelia whispered, "They found it. I thought it was only myth." "What is it?" Rain asked. Zelia's voice shook. "It is what we were made to fight. It devours light. It kills purpose. Even Star-Lords feared it." Jax stared. "Then how do we kill it?" Zelia looked at Ran. "We don't. He must command me to become what I was never meant to be." The beast came fast. Faster than thought. It ripped through energy shields, crushed tanks, pulled the life out of the air. Zelia stepped forward. "Say the words," she told Ran. "What words?" "The command seal. It unlocks my final state. But once it's said, I cannot turn back. I become pure force, and I will not survive it." Rain's heart pounded. He looked around. At his team, his people. At Zelia. "You'll die." Zelia nodded. "But you'll live. That is what matters." He stared at her. "No, not like this. I won't trade you for the galaxy." She reached for his hand. "You already did, when you broke my chains." Tears shimmered in her golden eyes. "I was born a weapon, but you made me choose. And now I choose to protect you, with everything I am." The beast drew closer, mountains breaking behind it. Time was running out. Zelia knelt before him, not in slavery, but in choice. "Say it," she whispered, "or we all die." Rain opened his mouth, then closed it. "No." Everyone stared. The Valari gasped. Zelia looked up, confused. "No," she whispered. Rain stepped forward, fire in his eyes. "I won't sacrifice you," he said. "There's another way. You're not a blade. You're not a bomb. You're Zelia. And I trust you. Not my power. Not a command. Just you." She stood slowly. "No one's ever said that before," she said. Then she turned and faced the beast. What happened next became legend. Zelia walked toward the monster. It roared. She didn't flinch. Her body glowed, not because Rain commanded her, but because she willed it. For the first time, she fought as herself. No chains, no throne, no seal. And the beast paused, because something had changed. Zelia rose into the air, light bursting from her back like wings. She whispered one word, "Remember." And the beast, somehow, did. It shivered, it screamed, and it ran. The battle was over. The empire retreated. The stars cleared. The throne stood silent. And Zelia, broken and bleeding, stood before Rain, alive. "You didn't say the command," she whispered. "No," he said, "because I didn't need to." She smiled. "You're not the king they wanted," she said, "but you're the one we need." Later, the Valari offered him the throne again. He refused. "I'm not a ruler," he said. "I'm just a man. And I already have what I came for." He looked at Zelia. She stood tall, glowing softly. And this time, she did not kneel. She simply held out her hand. And he took it. "She calls me master, but I called her free." The war was over. The sky, once full of fire and fear, was now quiet. For the first time in centuries, the stars could be seen clearly, no ships blocking them, no smoke covering their light. Rain stood at the edge of the cliff outside the temple. He looked at the horizon, mountains broken by battle, sand scattered by explosions, machines left to rust in the silence. But there was peace. Real peace, not because he ruled, not because he sat on the ancient throne, but because he made one choice. He chose not to become what others expected. Behind him, Celia walked slowly, her steps light but steady. Her armor was cracked. Her body still hurt. Her glowing scars flickered, but she was alive and free. She stood beside Rain and looked out at the same world. "It's strange," she said, "to see a world still standing, after I stood on so many that didn't." Rain smiled. "This one got lucky." She glanced at him. "No, I got lucky." Later, the crew of the Iron Hope gathered near the memory tomb. Repairs were being made. Old technology from the Valari combined with human hands to build something new. A future shared. Jax tossed down his tools. "You're really not going to take the throne?" Rand shook his head. "What would I do with a throne?" Micah laughed. "Rule the galaxy. Wear shiny robes. Make everyone call you Your Highness." Rain raised an eyebrow. "I'd rather be called Captain." They laughed, but Celia did not. She stood apart, silent, watching. That night, under the stars, Rain found her sitting alone beside the broken throne. "Something on your mind?" he asked. She didn't turn. "I don't know what I am now," she said. "You're free," Rain replied. Celia shook her head. "But free to do what? I was built to serve. I don't know how to just exist." Rain sat beside her. "You protected us. You stopped the Void Beast. You made your own choice. But only because you believed in me," she said. "What if you hadn't?" Rain looked into her golden eyes. "Then maybe none of us would be here. But the point is, you did it. Not because I said so, but because you chose to." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "If you gave me a command right now, would I follow it?" Rain thought carefully. Then he said, "I would never give you one." Celia smiled. A real smile, soft and sad. "Then maybe, just maybe, I'm free after all." The next day, Velos approached Rain one final time. "The galaxy knows what happened here," the elder Valari said. "The Obsidian Empire lost their shadow. The throne awakened. A human stood before a Valari army and did not kneel." "I didn't want to be a symbol," Rain replied. "But you are one," Velos said, "whether you want it or not." Velos handed him a small box, smooth stone, warm to the touch. "This holds the command seal," he said, "the final one. It can bind her again, if you ever need it." Rain took the box, stared at it, then crushed it in his hand. Velos's eyes widened. "You." "She's not a weapon," Rain said. "Not anymore." They left the temple behind that evening. Rain walked beside Celia as the Iron Hope rose in the distance, repaired and ready. The sky was clear. "You could go anywhere now," Rain said. "You're not bound to me." Celia nodded. "But where would I go?" she asked. "This galaxy doesn't remember us, doesn't want us. You're the only one who saw me as more." "You can stay," Rain offered, "as long as you want." Celia looked at him, deeply, fully. "I swore loyalty only to the one who could break me," she said softly. "And you did. Not with power, not with commands." She touched her own heart. With trust. They stood there a moment longer. The wind moved around them. Quiet. Gentle. No chains. No orders. Only two souls, scared and strong. Later, inside the ship, Jax grinned. "So," he said, "what do we call her now?" Celia smiled. "I've been called Weapon, Blade, Ghost, Monster, Guardian." She looked at Ran. "But now, I choose my name." Everyone went silent. And then she spoke. "Celia, just Celia." As the ship rose into the stars, heading into unknown space, A soft voice echoed in the logs of the memory tomb. She once swore loyalty only to the one who could break her. But he called her something greater. He called her free. The end.